Welcome to English Grammar 1, Unit 15. Past Perfect. Past Perfect is a verb formed of had plus past participle. It is used to express an action that preceded another action in the past. When you say the first action and go back to when you say the second action and go back to the first action, then you speak or express the first action in the past perfect, and the second is past simple. That means one action preceded another action in the past with a gap of time between the two actions. Here we use the past perfect and the past simple to express actions that happened in the past, but to show the difference between them or to show which one preceded the other, we use past perfect for the first action that comes first, and we use past simple for the second action, and we usually start with the second action, then we go back and remember to say the first action. If we forgot that, then we use it in the past perfect. But there should be a gap between the two actions to show which one preceded the other, which one came before the other action. We use past perfect. Otherwise, the two actions are in the past. So past perfect is an action that preceded another action in the past. Study this example situation. At 10:30, Paul left, and at 11, Sarah arrived at the party. There is a gap 30 minutes or half an hour between the two actions. Let's see what goes on. Sarah went to a party last week. Here we have last week, and last week indicates completed action or finished action in the past, so we use the past simple went. Paul went to the party too. Here Paul also went to the party last week, but they didn't see each other. They didn't come across each other. One went to the party and left, and one came after half an hour. There is a gap of time between the two actions, half an hour. So to say the two actions together, we use one in the past simple and the other in the past perfect. Paul left the party at 10:30 and Sarah arrived at 11 o'clock. That means half an hour is between the two actions and both are in the past. So to express both actions in one sentence, we use one in the past, and we can use the conjunction when, the subordinator or the subordinate conjunction when, to join the two sentences. So when Sarah arrived at the party, Paul wasn't there, he had gone home. So the sentence becomes like this: when Sarah arrived at the party, Paul had gone home. We started with the second action. Sarah arrived at the party, and it is in the past simple. It comes after when, and the other action which preceded it, which happened before it, is used in the past perfect to show that it was the first action. So the sentence becomes like this: when Sarah arrived at the party, arrived here is past simple. Paul had gone home. Paul had gone home before Sarah arrived at the party. So we use the past simple and the past perfect together with sentences joined by the conjunction, joined by the subordinate conjunction, when and before and after as well. We can use when, we can use before and after. Had gone is the past perfect simple. So the form had gone, had plus past participle is the past perfect simple. So we can form the verb like this. Subject plus had plus past participle forms the past perfect. I, we, they, you, he, she, it, and here we speak about plural and singular subjects together. There is no difference. We use had with all of them. We use the auxiliary verb had with all of them, or the helping verb had with all of them. Then we use the past participle. So we say I, we, they, you, he, she, it had gone. I had gone, we had gone, they had gone, you had gone, he had gone, she had gone, it had gone. Or I had seen, we had seen, they had seen, you had seen, he had seen, she had seen, it had seen. Or I had finished, we had finished, they had finished, you had finished, he had finished, she had finished, it had finished, etc. Means subject plus had plus past participle to form the past perfect. The past perfect simple is formed by had plus past participle, had plus gone, seen, finished. The past participle of go, gone. The past participle of see, seen. The past participle of finish, finished. Whether the verb is regular or irregular, we need to use the past participle form of the verb along with had. Sometimes we talk about something that happened in the past. Sarah arrived at the party. This is one action in the past. We use it in the past simple. The party is finished, so we use it in the past simple, finished action. This is the starting point of the story. When we say Sarah arrived at the party, this is the starting point of the party. But something happened before this starting point. We remember to say it then if we want to talk about things that happened before this time. We use the past perfect. So we can use past perfect in a series of actions in the past, but we don't start with the first action. We start with the second. Then to go back to the first action, we use past perfect to show that this is the first one. This is the action which preceded our action where we started our story or our point. When Sarah arrived at the party, this was not the first action in the story. First action was Paul had already gone home. What happened first? Paul had already gone home. So to go back and tell the first action after saying the second action, we need to use past perfect for the first action to show that this is the first action, not the second. So when we say when Sarah arrived at the party, Paul had already gone home, means we started our story with the second action when Sarah arrived home. And remember to say what happened before that, what had happened before that. We say Paul had already gone home. We go back to the first action using past perfect simple to express the first action. So it is a matter of going back to a previous action, and the previous action is used in the past perfect simple, and our second action is used in the past simple, and all of these actions are in the past, but to indicate or show which one preceded the other with a gap of time between them. The first action happened first, takes past perfect, and the second action takes past simple. What happens before takes past perfect, then what comes after that takes past simple. Here we don't mean by what happened before as written in the on the paper, as written in the sentence. No, the sentence can be reversed. We can say Paul had already gone home when Sarah arrived at the party. So it doesn't matter whether it is written at the beginning or at the end. What matters is the time of the occurrence of the action. Which action came first takes past perfect, and which action came second takes past simple. Some more examples. When we got home last night, we found that somebody had broken into the flat. We started our story by getting home last night. When we got home, this is the second action. We used here got in the past simple, and it is written directly after when. And what came before that, what happened before that, what we discovered that happened before that, we found that somebody had broken into the flat. Somebody had broken into the flat before we got home. Before we got home. So the first action is that somebody had broken into the flat, and the second action that we got home. So the first action takes past perfect, and the second action takes past simple. Karen didn't want to go to the cinema with us because she had already seen the film. Didn't want to go, this is the past simple, this is the first action. This is the second action, we speak about it here now. And what preceded this? What was the cause of not wanting to go to the cinema? Is that she had already seen the film. What preceded this action? What was the first action that led to this result? That she didn't want to come to the cinema, is that she had already seen the film before. So the first action is that she had seen the film. After some time, she didn't want to go to the cinema because the film was the same, so she didn't want to go to the cinema because she had already seen what happened before. She had already seen. So to speak about the previous action or the first action, we use past perfect, had already seen. And the second action is want to go, didn't want to go. Didn't want is in the past simple. Next example. At first I thought I had done the right thing, but I soon realized that I had made a big mistake. You just put a slash between the two sentences before but and stop before but, and look at the first sentence. At first I thought I had done the right thing. This part. If you think of this, the first part, you naturally people do things, then sometimes think after that about what they had done. What was that second action is thinking. What was the first action is doing. They did something, or the person did something, then he thought about it. So he had done the right thing. So at first I thought I had done the right thing. He thought about an action he had already done before. So the second action is thought. So it took past simple and thought about what? About what he had done before, or I had done before, of what I had done. What I had done before. The previous action, the first action. And the first action had done is in the past perfect. And to move to the next part, but I soon realized. I realized after. I realized after. We realized after. So realized is the second action, so it is written in the past simple that I had made a big mistake. He realized after the action. The action, he had made a big mistake. The first action is had made a big mistake, is in the past perfect, and the second action is realized, came after it, so it becomes like this. But I soon realized that I had made a big mistake. You realize about something you did before or you had done before. So what you had done before, he said, I had made a big mistake. So a big mistake is the first action, so it took the past perfect, and the second action is realizing, so it took past simple. This is a combination of two sentences. The next one, the man sitting next to me on the plane was very nervous. The man was very nervous. Here the verb was in the past. Why was he very nervous? He hadn't flown before. He had never flown before. Before that, he hadn't flown. So the previous action which made him very nervous is that he hadn't flown. So the previous action is, the first action is past perfect, hadn't flown, and the second action is was. Second action is was, past simple. Or he had never flown before. Number B. Compare the present perfect have seen and the past perfect had seen. Let's make a comparison between a present perfect simple and past perfect simple. We have already taken a present perfect simple, that it is an action extended from a past point, as you see in the sketch on the left. An action is extended from a past point until now, and you measure the action now, or you speak about the action now. It has a relationship with now. So you say present perfect simple have or has plus past participle. If you move to the other sketch on the right hand, you see that past perfect is an action extended from a past point, the beginning of the line, past point, to a past point. It ends at a past point. And the past point, so it is an action that is extended from a past point to another past point in the past. And the past point in the past, which is represented by now, if you think of now in the next day. Suppose you are now at the end of the lecture. So if your friend asks you, what did you do? What happened? You say, I have finished the lecture now. Okay? At this moment, let's say at 5 o'clock. Tomorrow, the point 5 o'clock yesterday becomes past. The point now becomes past. So if you speak about this action tomorrow, the next day, so it becomes past perfect, because the point now becomes in the past. So the action will be extended from a past point to a past. So you say, yesterday at 5 o'clock, I had finished the lecture. So when you think of present perfect, you speak about the action now at the end of the action, and the end of the action now at this moment. But when you speak of past perfect, you speak of the action at the end of the action. The point now becomes past. You speak about it next day, another time, but you speak about it at the end point where it was now, let's say at 5 o'clock. So you say yesterday at 5 o'clock I had finished the lecture. You use past perfect simple. But if you say now at 5 o'clock I have finished the lecture, you say. So the difference is that you speak about the present perfect at the end of the action, when the end of the action now. And you speak of the past perfect simple at the end of the action, when the end of the action not now, a point in the past, another point in the past. Suppose you speak about it next day or after 5 days. So it becomes a point, the point now becomes a past point. So the action extends from a past point to another past point, and at the end point in the past you use past perfect. Let's take some examples in the present perfect. Who is that woman? Look at the auxiliary verb is here. Is here indicates now. Is here indicates now, present. So the answer will be I have never seen her before. In my life until now, I have never seen her before. So is shows now, means who is that woman? Now. This question is now. So you use present perfect in this question. But on the other side, if you say I didn't know who she was, I didn't know. Here didn't know indicates a point in the past, a point in the past, and that end point in the past, then the action extended from a past point to another point in the past. At the end of the action is a point in the past, so we use past perfect. So try to look at didn't know. Put didn't know in your mind and concentrate or focus on didn't know. Didn't know indicates the point is in the past, so the end point is in the past, and the action extended from a past point to an end point in the past, then it is a past perfect. So we say I had never seen her. The difference here is you if you look in the first sentence it is, and in the second sentence didn't know. Is in the present and didn't know in the past. So the end point is indicates now in the structure, and the end point didn't know indicates the word past in the structure, in the sketch. So it becomes the end point, an action extended from a past point to an end point in the past, and we express it at the end point, so we use past perfect. So we use I had never seen her before that time. Let's go back to the present perfect. We aren't hungry. Look at the auxiliary verb aren't. Aren't means now. Aren't means now. We aren't hungry now. So the end point of the action is now, and the action extended from the past until now. So we have just had lunch. We have just had lunch. We are at the end of the action. So we say we have just had lunch. We use present perfect. But if you look to the right hand at the past perfect, then you see we weren't hungry. Weren't is in the past. So the end point is a past, a point of time in the past. So the action extended from a past point to another past point. At the end point in the past, we express the action in the past. So it becomes past perfect. So we say we had just had lunch. Had, the first had abbreviated, had is auxiliary verb, and the other had is the past participle of, which comes after just, is the past participle of have, means eat, and the past participle of have is had. So it becomes we had just had lunch. Let's go back to the present perfect. The house is dirty. Is means now. Is means now. So the end point is now. And the action extended from the past to from a past point to now, as in the sketch above. So it becomes present perfect. So we use they haven't cleaned it for weeks. 4 weeks, let's say 3 weeks or 5 weeks. 5 weeks back until now. So since it is until now, then we use present perfect. So the verb becomes like this: they haven't cleaned it for weeks. Present perfect. On the other hand, in the past perfect, if you look at the example, the house was dirty. Was. Look at the word was. Then the point they are speaking at is in the past. Was. So, what happened before? An action extended from the past point to another past point. So, we say they hadn't cleaned it for weeks. We use past perfect because the end point of the action is in the past. So it becomes an action extended from a past point to another past point. On the other past point, end point, we express the action using past perfect. That's why the statement comes like this: they hadn't cleaned it for weeks. 4 weeks back until the time they spoke in the past. The time they spoke in the past. C. Compare the past simple left or was, the verb in the past simple, and the verb in the past perfect. Past perfect had plus the past participle had left or had been. Was Tom there when you arrived? Was Tom there when you arrived? Both actions are in the past and they came together at the same time. So we use here both action in the past simple. Both action came at the same time, so we use past simple for both actions. Was Tom there? This is a past verb. And when you arrive, this is another past verb. Both action crossed each other and they came at the same time, so we use both action in the past simple. Yes, but he left soon after where? But he left soon afterwards. He left after some time. On the other hand, in the case of past perfect, let's see: was Tom there when you arrived? Both actions are at the same time in the past, so we use past simple for both actions. In the answer, B says no, he had already left. Means Tom had already left when you arrived, or when you arrived, Tom had already left. Means Tom had left before you arrived with a gap of some time. Let's say before you arrive, half an hour before you arrived. There is a gap of time between the two actions. Tom had already left, and after half an hour you arrived. Then Tom left before. This is the first action. It takes past perfect. And there is a gap of time, then comes the past simple arrived. So we say when you arrived, Tom or he had already left. He had left before you arrived with a gap of time, let's say half an hour or 1 hour between the two actions. One action preceded another. He had left before. this is the first action preceded the arrival of you or your arrival. The next example, Kate wasn't at home when I phoned. Here, two actions came together at the same time. So we use both actions in the past simple. Kate wasn't at home. This wasn't is past simple. And when I phoned, past simple. Both actions came together at the same time. So we use past simple for both actions. She was at her mother's house. At the same time, she was at her mother's house. This is the other action is at the same time as well. So it is written in the past simple. When you look to the other example on the right hand, you see Kate had just got home. When I phoned means Kate had just got home before I phoned. Then the first action, she had just got home. This is the first action. So it is given past perfect. And the second action, I phoned, it is given past simple. And there is a gap of time between the two actions. She had just got home. After some time, I phoned. She had been at her mother's house. Before I phoned, where were she? Where was she? Not where were. Where was she? She was at her mother's house, but this is the action that preceding getting home. So there is a gap between phoning and being at her mother's home. So being at her mother's home is the first action with a gap of time before phoning. So we give the first action being at her mother's home past perfect. So it becomes she had been, not she was. She had been. Had plus past participle of was or is becomes been. So it becomes she had been at her mother's house when I phoned, and you phoned after that with a gap of time. So the first action had been at her mother's house is written in the past perfect, and the second action phoned is written in the past simple. That's all. Thank you.